Assalamu alaikum, family. You are now tuned in to a sacred space where the spiritual and entrepreneurial converge. We are exploring this morning the powerful prayer passed down to us by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I want you to be a friend, tell a friend, and let everybody know. It looks like we won't be live on Facebook because something weird is happening on the stream, but we are live on YouTube. So we'll see you all in a few, and I will see if I can get this fixed while you watch a few commercials and a beautiful prayer. All right, see you few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy son. O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee, and he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
And I'm even more excited this year to open the Elijah Muhammad House, also known as Sajdah House, up for some special tours just for you, National Training Conference attendees. We're going to be having special tours on Thursday, 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., and also on Sunday at 4 p.m. So just go to ElijahMuhammadHouse.com and register to attend. And remember, space is very limited, so we got to get there and get registered. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see you. Welcome to Chicago. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are now tuned into a sacred space where the spiritual and the entrepreneurial converge. This is the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talk, and I am your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Today's episode is a journey, a deep dive into a divine invocation that is not only a prayer, but for the soul. Not only a prayer for the soul, I say it like that, but a business model for the faithful. So it's not only a prayer for the soul, but a business model for the faithful. We are exploring the powerful prayer passed over to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, an intercessory statement that is both protection and prescription for those of us building legacy under pressure, especially for Black entrepreneurs navigating systems of extraction, debt, and despair. This prayer is a balm and a blueprint. So I hope you all are doing well. Let me tune myself in here to the comments. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining. Be a friend, tell a friend. A couple quick announcements before we get started. You all see we got the National Training Conference coming up. You saw that space is limited, so book your tours. I had a couple of people asking me to come and tour on that day with their groups, and I'm like, that's training conference day. So let's get in, get registered, so we'll know whether or not to add them in to the tour schedule if National Training Conference isn't going to take up all the spaces. This is just a private little sneak peek that we're offering to those who are attending the National Training Conference. And then if you follow me on social media, you got to go do it there. I didn't upload the video here, but they got a cool video. You know, it's about to be Modest Fashion Week. We in Harlem this year. So I'm going to be bringing you more about that. We're going to be talking about fashion. We have a very special night at the event for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. We're going to be sharing the experience with you. So I cannot wait for you all to attend. So I'm still playing around with a few things. I've got a book signing coming up. That's actually in Omaha, Nebraska. So if you're going to be there for Omaha Days, look for me at the Great Plains Black History Museum. So let's see. I think that's it. We're going to jump right into it, okay? Because this is important stuff. All right. Let me say what I said again, because I see some of you all are just joining. What we're going to do today is we're going to explore a powerful prayer that was given to us by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's a prayer, but what I like to call like an intercessory statement that is both protection and prescription for those of us building legacy under pressure, especially for Black entrepreneurs navigating systems of extraction, debt, and despair. This prayer is a balm and a blueprint. All right. So before we review the prayer itself, let's talk about the importance of mindset, because thank you, Brother Lamont, what this prayer does is it gives us a mindset statement. And I have to review this ever so often, because you all know my first book in print that was published. I had a bunch of ebooks. It's called The Mind of an Entrepreneur. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all this. The new book that's coming out end of next month is called The Art and Science of Business. And it's action-packed. It's packed with information. What they say in Europe is chock full of information. Okay. But mindset, I cover it in depth in my first book, The Mind of an Entrepreneur. If you don't have it, you can grab it on Amazon. If you're coming to the book signing, you can order your book real quick before. Stay close, like I said, on announcements about the new book. And I'm going to put something out there so that you all can reserve your new book ahead of time. Okay. The new book is my birthday gift to myself. Drinking me some chai with a little cayenne, because we've been having this horrible humid weather in Chicago, and it has been playing with my sinuses, let me tell you. All right, why is mindset crucial for Black entrepreneurs? I'm going to give you a few reasons on this, and you can go to the book if you want to go in depth. Number one, mindset determines how you and I see possibility. Think about Proverbs 23:7. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. For centuries, Black people were taught to survive, not thrive. Colonial systems instilled fear, dependency, and inferiority to suppress economic power. So our economic power was suppressed by the installation of fear, making us dependent and making us believe that we were inferior. So when you think about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad saying to us, accept your own and be yourself. First, love yourself. You are the maker, the owner, right, of the universe. That is helping us with some of those mindset programming, spells, sorcery. I call it sorcery because it's constantly being fed into us. I call it a spell because it's like we can't break out of it unless we get access to something more powerful. So that fear, dependency, inferiority is what has suppressed our economic power. All right. Mindset is what shifts us from survival to sovereignty. And we talked about being a sovereign person here on the show. Go back and check out that episode as well. Without a transformed mindset, even access to resources or capital can be wasted due to subconscious self-sabotage or limiting beliefs. All right. You all with me? Now, number 2, why is mindset important? Mindset builds your emotional resilience. Emotional resilience. One thing we have as a people is emotional resilience. We just have to take that emotional resilience skill and transfer it and lay it over our economic development, our independence. See, because systemic racism, rejection, undercapitalization, and biases are daily realities for us. So we've built a muscle. So when we experience systemic racism, while it hurts, we've seen it before. It's not new. We've experienced rejection. We've experienced running a business being undercapitalized. We've experienced biases. That experience, as you know, when you put things on your resume, that experience is an asset that can be used. See, a liberated mindset strengthens our capacity to endure setbacks without internalizing them. It allows you to say, this rejection is not my reflection, and try it again with strategy, not shame. This rejection is not my reflection. If you're in the chat, you can type that in. This rejection is not my reflection. This rejection is not my reflection. Here's the third reason why mindset matters. It helps us to redefine success. Okay. Colonial frameworks define how we see success. And it primarily promotes a definition of extraction, dominance, and individualism. So the colonial mindset makes you think you're successful if you are extracted from your community, if you are extracted from your circle of influence. And then the reverse is true in that we tend to respect people who have been plucked out of our community. So a hero is not recognized at home. So in the community, the support gets stronger if the person is supported from an extracted space. Dominance. So the colonial framework tells us if we are not dominant, we are not successful. That's the masculine piece that is dominating our work and development. Dominance. Okay? There's a space and place for dominance, but the colonial framework says extraction, dominance, if you don't got that, you're not successful. And then it really promotes and supports individualism. But a conscious Black entrepreneur may define success as interdependence, healing, legacy. This mindset shift can open up new possibilities for us that are more sustainable and incredibly sacred. All right. Now, why is it that this colonialized mindset no longer works? Okay. This is not, it boils down to race because at the root of this colonial mindset was a huge race equation. All right. But I want you to think about it as a mindset and just help you to see why it no longer works, why thinking like the colonizers no longer works. Number one, that mindset was designed for servitude and not sovereignty. This is why it's important for us to break out of that mindset. It was designed for servitude and not sovereignty. A lot of people are afraid to break out of that mindset because they're afraid of their people. They don't want to ask anybody else for help. They're praying for something, but they've put restrictions on Allah and said, I only want it from these particular sources. And even if they didn't say it directly, they're saying it indirectly. I want to make more money, so I'm going to pray for a new job. Want to make money, so I'm going to pray for it this way. I want to open a business, I'm going to pray for it that way. But the idea of collaborating and having somebody to just look out for you and have your back are things that this colonial mindset does not support. See, colonial capitalism thrives on hierarchy. Remember, it was designed for servitude. It creates a mindset of dependency. Dependency on jobs, dependency on approval, dependency on institutions. It was never meant to produce independent, self-actualized, spiritually aligned business owners. Okay, so continuing to operate with this outdated programming means perpetuating the very system that exploits us. Here's the second reason why thinking like a colonizer no longer works. It promotes scarcity and competition. See, the colonialized mindset or the colonized mindset says there's not enough money, there's not enough customers, there's not enough grants, there's not enough land, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. It drives Black entrepreneurs to view each other as threats rather than allies, right? But in contrast, see, ancestral and spiritual systems promote cooperation, like I was just talking about, family work, family cooperation, 2 or 3 members of a family, several members of a family getting together to build legacy, resource sharing, abundance. Third reason why you got to stop thinking like a colonizer is because it disconnects you from your source. See, a colonized mindset worships money, not meaning. It forgets the divine as the true source of provision. As a result, entrepreneurs may chase profit at the expense of purpose, integrity, or wellness. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to do for self, not just as economics, but as a restoration of divine agency and self-reliance. All right. So let's begin by centering ourselves on the words of this prayer. And the prayer goes like this. O Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. And I seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. And I seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. And I seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice thou me with that which is lawful, to keep me away from that which is prohibited, and with thy grace make me free from want of what is besides thee. Take a deep breath, because this prayer is sacred medicine. Now let's break it down. All right. That first line, O Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. O Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. Anxiety, here's the insight. Anxiety is the anticipation of harm. Right? Being skittish. You ever seen like a puppy or an animal that's afraid you're going to harm it? That's what anxiety is. And we already talked about what happens to us physiologically as a people when we're constantly living in anxiety. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad tells us to seek refuge in Allah from anxiety. When you're living in a space of anxiety, you are in what they call fight or flight mode. When you go into fight or flight mode, and I've explained this to us 1,000 times, your blood source and your hormones and your attention goes to your muscles. It redirects the blood flow from your organs, or reduces it from your organs and sends it to the muscles. Why? Because it thinks that you got to physically defend yourself against some type of potential harm. But what happens when that happens? Well, then your organs don't get as much blood, because maybe the kidneys don't need as much blood if we're trying to get away, in a chase where we're running down the street or we're fighting. Certain organs may not need that. Well, guess what happens? This state of mind or state of physiology is designed to be temporary. But for many of us, we live like that all the time. We wake up, we're anxious. We go outside, we're anxious. We go to work, we're anxious. And so we're always in fight or flight. And then what ends up happening is that our blood pressure is high. Our organs, like our kidneys, don't get enough blood flow. Our hormones aren't functioning properly. Anxiety. So we want to seek relief or refuge from Allah from anxiety and grief. Okay, anxiety is the anticipation of harm. What about grief? Grief is the weight of past loss. See, for Black entrepreneurs, these are not abstract emotions. They are ancestral and environmental, because we live in a space where we are constantly losing. We've lost so much as a people. We carry the grief of redlining. We carry the grief of denied loans. We carry the grief from the constant burden of proving our worth. Anxiety is compounded by the fear that one mistake will destroy everything we built. This line teaches us that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of divine refuge. Now, how do we use this line? How do we apply this every day when we're in business? We use this line, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, as grounding. When your business slows down, clients fall through, or systems try to suffocate your progress, return to this prayer. It's a reminder that your mental wellness is a priority. Seek therapy, spiritual guidance, and meditation as tools, not afterthoughts. Okay, that is your grounding line. Here's the next line. From lack of strength and laziness. Lack of strength is often the result of spiritual depletion, not incompetence. What happens in this world that we live in, if you don't feel strong, if all of a sudden you're not strong, then instead of sometimes people coming to help us and to hold us up if we don't feel strong, there's a shame to it. There's people who come who are predators, who try to take advantage. We want to seek refuge in Allah against that. Okay? Lack of strength is often the result of spiritual depletion. When you just become depleted, you're tired. It's not always that you're incompetent. Laziness is also often mislabeled. It's often fear parading as inaction. So it's not necessarily that you're lazy, you're just scared. Scared of what people are going to say, scared that people are going to take advantage of you, scared that you're not going to be successful, scared of the rejection. Then you get tired. So many Black entrepreneurs are not lazy, they are exhausted from being everything to everyone without adequate rest or support. Now, how do we deal with that? How do we apply this as everyday entrepreneurs? You want to build rest into your business plan. I posted the other day 7 different types of rest. It's not just always physical rest. Sometimes it's spiritual rest. Sometimes you need a little music. Sometimes you need to move around. See, strength is also often reclaimed through boundaries. So sometimes you have to create boundaries because you just can't take more. And I will tell you all this, and something I had to learn. I'm a giver. And as a giver, I don't necessarily have any limits. So I can't be in relation with takers because takers have no limit. And so if the taker has no limit and the giver has no limit, who gets depleted? So you have to learn boundaries. and learn how to have discernment and select the right people to be in friendship with, in relationship with. I always say, whoever I marry, he has to be a giver as well. We got to have some balance. He can't be a taker. All right. So strength, you can reclaim your strength through setting boundaries, having discernment, delegating, and prayer. Laziness dissolves when you reignite with your purpose. So go back to your original purpose. Why am I doing this? Who am I? And for me, like I said, in my example, I just love hooking people up. I love to see people successful. And so I have to go back to that, but then understanding my boundaries and limits when I'm trying to do that. Let's go over this next line. It says, from cowardice and niggardliness. So being a coward, it's not simply fear. It's your refusal to act even if you know better. Right? Then there's niggardliness or stinginess, which is a trauma response. We talked about that during our webinar on our webinar, we should call it webinar, on financial trauma. Niggardliness or stinginess is a trauma response. It's a belief that there's not enough. So we hoard, we steal, we take. That's when we're being niggardly. These are survival instincts from generations of lack and betrayal. Now, how do we deal with this every day as entrepreneurs? Black entrepreneurs must unlearn scarcity. We have to give generously when led to. You can't get what you are not. You can't reap what you don't sow. So if you want somebody to give to you, you can't expect somebody to give to you if you don't give to them. Give generously when you're led to. Invest in others. If you want people to invest in you, if you're not willing to invest in others, you can't expect investment. You want to share opportunities. If you won't share opportunities with somebody else, you can't complain that somebody else isn't sharing opportunities with you. You have to encourage and inspire others. If you won't be an inspiration to somebody else, you can't expect that somebody else is going to be an inspiration to you. All right. Let's keep going here. The next one, this is a big one, says from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Debt is often designed to be inescapable, especially for Black business owners who receive less funding and face higher interest rates. We have a greater amount of opposition when we go into business, and so we need help. That is why it was so wise that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us, he said, 6 or 8 of you pool your resources and go into business for yourself. There's power in that number of 6 or 8 of us. There's power in having support and success. You can't go up against this devil, this opposition, this rejection, these biases by yourself. I'm so grateful to be where I am, because were it not for other people supporting me, holding me up, helping me, I wouldn't be where I am. See, oppression is not just historical. It's institutional, and it happens every day. It's in the zoning laws. It's in the credit system. It's in consumer bias. See, this line is a cry for freedom. And so in our everyday lives as entrepreneurs, in order to actualize this line and this prayer, we want to be strategic. We have to understand credit. We have to leverage our collective economics, like I just said. We want to avoid predatory situations, like certain loans and certain things like that. And if we do find ourselves in that kind of thing, we have to be open to accepting help. And if you see somebody else in trouble, you too have to be open to go and helping somebody. Because today it might be me needing help, but tomorrow it might be you. And as the society that we live in becomes more and more desperate to save its position in the world, then people who are open and more likely to be the victims are going to receive even more and more hate. And so it's going to take more and more of us. You're going to see more people getting in trouble, more people getting arrested. We got to be supportive to each other. Why? Because when you start to live in this kind of society, until you separate, until you kind of have your own little community, so many people are predators. Your financial literacy is warfare against systemic opposition. The next line says, suffice thou me with what is lawful. Suffice thou me with what is lawful. This is a big one. Suffice thou me with what is lawful. Lawful in this case means righteous, clean, dignified, legal. Many of us have been tempted or forced into unethical survival strategies. This line is saying, may my provision come with honor. You're asking Allah for the creative ways in order for you to move and develop and do what he called you to do without having the temptation or being forced into unethical survival strategies. Now, in our everyday life, you want to build businesses that don't exploit other people. Say no to shortcuts that cost you your soul. Of course, you're studying the rules. Of course, you're trying to figure out how to shortcut your way there, but don't pay for it with your soul. Believe and know that you can prosper with your integrity intact. And that's what this prayer is supporting us in doing. And with thy grace, make me free from want of what is besides thee. That's the next line. This is like a closing affirmation. It's like, let me be so full of you, O Allah, that I need nothing outside of you. It's about integrity, alignment, and power. This is the mindset of a sacred entrepreneur, a nation builder, a person doing for self. When you know your source, you are not owned by clients. You are not owned by trends. You are not owned by investors. You build, and you are building from divine instruction. And that is where your success lives. All right. Brother Ronald says, saying this prayer at least 7 times gives the person the strength to navigate himself or herself in the time of trouble. Yeah, it's reprogramming your mindset. Let's talk about from this prayer. I'm going to give you a few affirmations. I release the weight of anxiety and grief. I'm grounded in divine peace. So when you're asking Allah, you're seeking refuge from anxiety and grief. And you should be feeling in your spirit that you have released the weight of that anxiety and grief, because you just took the weight of that anxiety and grief off of yourself and gave it to Allah and regrounded yourself in divine peace. And so you have to feel that. I release the weight of anxiety and grief. You just said the prayer. So don't say the prayer without realizing what the prayer is saying and then feeling in your body, in your spirit, what you're asking for in the prayer. Because sometimes we repeat these prayers as rituals. Oh Allah, I seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. What does that mean? We talked about some interpretations. And again, these are just my interpretations, okay? I talked about what some of my interpretations of that mean. But what I'm also saying that I do is after I say the prayer, I sit there and I feel the release of the weight of the anxiety and grief. And I reground myself in that divine peace. I also look at it like this. I'm energized by purpose and protected from burnout. People say, oh, when are you going to retire? Or who's retiring? There's no retirement for a righteous soldier. You may shift. You may have to do some things that maybe aren't as physical as you are, but you are even more energized by your purpose as you get older and you know more. That's the goal, right? To get older. I don't know why we discriminate on people. I was talking to somebody the other day, and there was a gentleman who was in charge of something, and they said that he was like 74. And I said, God bless him. I said, because if he can sit there at the desk and use his mind and create these programs, what a blessing. What a blessing to be energized by your purpose and protected from burnout. And so I think about that, being energized by my purpose. I act with courage and I give confidence. I'm not afraid. See, this is an interesting thing, because oftentimes we forget that courage doesn't always mean that you're not afraid. I like to say that I have courage, but there are times when I'm afraid. And so when I'm dealing with myself with the fear, I'm working with myself mentally so that I can move forward despite the fear, which is the courage. Okay. We have to know that you are grounded. You are not overpowered by debt or men. You walk in your divine sovereignty. You ask Allah before you go into a contract, into a situation where you need money. Oh Allah, please do not allow me to be overpowered by debt. Allow my business to flow so that I can relieve myself of this debt and receive only what is lawful and right for ourselves. Let's not be emotionally blackmailed into unethical survival techniques or tactics or actions. And be free from what? Make Allah sufficient. Make Allah sufficient. So I want to, before we close out, there's a video I want to show you, which you all know we saw it last week. And let me grab it here. We're going to take, this is Minister Farrakhan. He is, let me get it together here. It's a video where he's addressing, it's the Nubian Leadership Summit. I think it's from September 24th, 2022, I believe. All right. So I want you all to check this video out. And I'll play it here in a second. If I can get it together. In the meanwhile, wow, there we go. I got myself together now. Here we go. All right. So we're going to get rid of that. We don't need that. And we need this. There we go. This one right here from the minister. So we're going to back it up. And hopefully you guys can do it.
To use prayer. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that the remembrance of Allah is the greatest force against evil and our doing of evil. So we can't build a great nation acting like the enemy whose world is going out. We can't build a great nation with envy and enmity and self-hatred among us that break us up whenever we try to get started and build a unified front of Black people for the future of us as a people. So this prayer that I wanted to bring to your attention is a prayer that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said we should say it 7 times a day. I want you to listen to the words that are accented in this prayer. It says, "O Allah, I seek your refuge from anxiety and grief. I seek your refuge from the lack of strength and laziness. I seek your refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. I seek your refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice thou us with what is lawful. Keep us away from what is prohibited, and with your grace, make us free from want of what is beside you." Ameen.
Mm-hmm.
My beloved brothers, sisters, take this prayer and pass the words that represent the characteristics that we are seeking refuge in Allah against. And then remember, end of the word of the prayer. Suffice thou us with what is lawful. Crookedness in any way, shape, or form should never be among us in seeking to build a great nation on the nature of God and our nature, which is righteousness.
Yes.
Suffice thou us with what is lawful. Keep us away from what is prohibited, and with your grace, make us free from want of what is beside you. These are the literal characteristics that we gotta get rid of by seeking refuge in the God, not in the United Nations, not in these institutions set up by the enemy. They are fading and falling and dying a well-earned death. So you and I must strike out on a new and better course. And that course is based on our very nature. God formed us in the best of molds, this body. But in this body, it must become the dwelling place of God Himself.
Yes, sir.
Anointed by His Spirit, His energy, His life, His vision. And then we go forward, and I can tell you, if we rid ourselves of these characteristics that have broken us apart over the years, I can guarantee you there is no failure for us in what we desire to do, what we are self-determined to do, to build a righteous nation. Not only for us, but if you say for Black people, but when you say Black, you have to include all of that that came from Black, with the exception of the open enemy of man.
Whew. That was powerful. That literally that literally almost made me cry. So today, beloveds, we broke down the refuge prayer. I gave you my opinion on each and some insight that I felt from each line. We talked about the importance of mindset. We talked about how to apply those lines in our everyday business, work, and life. Thank you, CDM. This is actually a chapter in the book. So I'm introducing you to some of these concepts before the book comes out. And then we gave ourselves a few affirmations and listened to the minister on it. I can't summarize it any better than this. That's why I say he has to go last, because I can't summarize and teach behind him. Beloved, this prayer is more than words. It's a frequency. It's medicine. It's a breakthrough prayer. When we recite it with sincerity and understanding, it rewires our spirit. It clears our entrepreneurial path and draws us back into divine alignment. Black entrepreneurship is not a trend. It's a divine assignment. Let me say it again. Black entrepreneurship is not a trend. It's a divine assignment. You are not hustling. You are building. You are not begging. You are commanding. And with Allah as our partner, no gatekeeper can deny our entry. So with that, family, I wish you all a very beautiful and sacred day. Support the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. We are, you know what I feel like? I feel like I got a big giant thing on my back and I'm taking step by step, but to take each step, we have to prepare. So, the last few steps, and then we're close to monetizing the building, and it's going to be, it's fabulous. It's so sacred. And I know that nothing with meaning happens without some push and some sacrifice, and Allah has his way of doing things. And let me tell you, sometimes it ain't your way. So make sure you support the network. Some of the work that I'm doing here, bringing you this powerful information, inshallah, is powerful to you at no cost. Sometimes we have webinars that we do charge, but this podcast and all this information that I have out here since 2005, that is designed to help us better ourselves and move forward as entrepreneurs. So go to Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. Again, donate something, 5, 10, 15, 20. What's that thing we were growing up? I'm aging myself. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I say that because we have to recognize that freedom ain't free. And we have to realize that we have to support. If you enjoy podcasts like this, if you enjoy the work that people like me are doing and you get anything out of it, you don't want to be a taker. You have to find a way of, even if your resources are limited and you say, you know what, I can only give $100, or I can only give $15, or I can only give $5. It is what it is. But the idea is that I want us giving, because we can't expect somebody to give to us if we are not givers. And so we have to figure out, where do we give? How do we give? How do we sow? The idea is sowing into something. All right. So again, don't forget, get your tickets for the, or make your reservation. It's not really a ticket because it's a private event. Make your reservation for the tours during the National Training Conference, the private tours. Don't forget about Modest Fashion Week. We're going to be talking a little bit more about that. You'll see all of this on my page here, all this information. What else? The book signing coming up. And I got a couple big projects that I'm working on that I will tell you all about relatively soon. And stay tuned for the book. Stay tuned for the first episode of The Messenger's Residence. I think I decided that what we're going to do is, I'm just looking for a date. I'm thinking it'll be sometime in August. and we're going to do something so that the people who are not here in Chicago can chime in and look at it with us. And then we'll do a screening at the house with a little panel discussion about it. I think, inshallah, you all are going to like it. All right. So happy Friday. I wish each and every one of you more peace, more love, more goodness than you've ever experienced or imagined. Sending you all good energy for a good day. Set your intention today that you're going to be attractive. You're going to be loving. You're going to be supportive. You're going to be strong. You're going to move forward with courage. Whatever your intention needs to be, walk into your miracle. Walk into who you are. You can do it. Every single person, every Black person, especially, let me say this to those of us that are members of the Nation of Islam. If you have been chosen to this sacred work, you got a story. You got a business right there up inside of you. You have so much to look forward to. You have so much to be excited about. Yes, there's some dark times ahead, but you've been prepared. You got tools. You know the strategy. So tomorrow we're going to do the same thing with Psalms 91, verses 14 through 16. We're going to do the same analysis because I want to give us tools and help us to see how we can utilize these tools in a practical manner. And we don't have to be separate from our spirituality when we approach entrepreneurship or doing for self. Okay? There's no time for gloom and doom. Reignite yourself. If somebody needs encouragement, encourage them. If somebody needs a hug, give them a hug. If somebody needs an arm around them, give them an arm around them. If somebody needs help, help them. I've helped thousands of people over the years. I can't even remember their names. Some people I didn't know names because I know people who helped me and didn't even know my name. That is so important. It's so critical. Whether they just give you some advice, whether they hold the door open for you, whether they smile. And if somebody makes a mistake, don't be so quick to crush them like a cockroach. If somebody needs your help, don't be so quick to make them feel bad because they needed help. That's not what this life is about. Nobody can make it alone. All right, family, that's enough. I'm going to get off of it. I will see you all tomorrow morning. Inshallah, we're going to go over, we're going to be going Psalms 91, verses 14 through 16. We're going to be applying that to entrepreneurship. So be a friend, tell a friend. This will be posted up here for people to go back. You can always refer back to it. If you find yourself getting a little sad or feeling a little weak or just feeling some kind of way, something happens that triggers you, you can go back to this episode and get yourself some encouragement. All right. Loving each and every one of you all. Peace and blessings. And we will see you all soon. I'm going to show you all 2 quick commercials, so don't jump off so quick. All right. Talk to you soon. Assalamu alaikum. Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I remember when the first National Training Conference was held 30 years ago. Congratulations. And I'm even more excited this year to open the Elijah Muhammad House, also known as Sajdah House, up for some special tours just for you, National Training Conference attendees. We're going to be having special tours on Thursday, 3 p.m. and 6 p.m., and also on Sunday at 4 p.m. So just go to ElijahMuhammadHouse.com and register to attend. And remember, space is very limited, so we got to get there and get registered. Congratulations, and I can't wait to see you. Welcome to Chicago.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive, Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible